Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining me here on a beautiful day in Oyster Bay. And with me today are Lisa Daglian from PCAC, representing Jerry Brigman of the Long Island Railroad Commuter Council, Mitch Palley, former MTA board member and chair of the Long Island Chapter of the League of Conservation Voters, and from Long Island Railroad, Rob Free, Senior Vice President of Operations, and Craig Daly, Chief Mechanical Officer. And behind us all, M7 EMU cars, 7603 and 7604, their first visit to Oyster Bay. So since I first joined the railroad in April 2018, I've had the opportunity to talk to riders, local residents, and elected officials. And in our non-electric territory, Oyster Bay, Ronkonkoma, Montauk, and my own Port Jefferson branch, they all ask me the same questions. Why can't we get more service? Why do our trains get shortened during the summer months? When will these branches get electrified? And over the years, we have investigated many options. Today, I'm here to let everyone know that we have a lot of questions to answer, but the future is closer than ever before. We are looking to set a new course that will shape our decisions as we look to further improve service sooner. I'm incredibly excited to announce our partnership with Alstom as we embark on a product test agreement to retrofit our M7 electric cars to run on batteries. While there are battery trains in Europe, I understand that this would be the first time for a commuter railroad in North America. Over the next 8 months, we will conduct feasibility analyses and simulations to meet our service and operational needs to size and fit batteries to retrofit the M7 fleet, the M7 cars. How long a charge will last and how many miles can be traveled will help us determine where charging locations may be needed. Batteries are being used today for light rail, and we want to make it work for commuter rail. A much smaller footprint and cost compared to the $17+ billion needed to electrify and build out these diesel territory branches. This is not just the first step, but quite possibly a quantum leap towards the future. One that is greener, quieter, and like the Laser Train initiative, I have full confidence that Alstom and our Long Island Railroad team will work together to make this successful. No pressure, Craig. And I see this as a total game changer for how we're able to increase flexibility in operating this railroad and deliver improved services sooner rather than later. No pressure, Rob. Over the last few years, technology has improved and batteries are smaller, lighter, and longer lasting than ever before. This is an opportunity for us to be on the leading edge and steer industry in a new direction across the U.S. And for New York, this allows the MTA and Long Island Railroad to follow Governor Cuomo's lead and support his promise for a greener New York. The initial phase will analyze both the Oyster Bay and Port Jefferson branches, but like everything else we do, as we look to address local needs, we are mindful of the system as a whole. And as we look to improve service today, we are keeping an eye on the future. After this initial phase, we plan to modify an M7 married pair, just like the one behind us. This prototype BEMU, battery electric multiple unit, will then be test run along the Oyster Bay branch. Our ultimate goal, an M7 BEMU that can run from Oyster Bay direct to New York, with the cars transitioning seamlessly from battery to third rail and back. I see this as a truly transformational step we're taking at the Long Island Railroad towards improving the lives of thousands of customers who use these branches daily and the communities that join us. We expect this will give us the opportunity to better support travel to those living along these branches and to better support travel to local businesses and developing downtowns. Looking ahead, this will help us reshape our capital needs and future rolling stock procurements. This will guide us as we continue reimagining how best to improve the railroad and deliver service in the most cost-effective and environmentally friendly manner. I can now go back to these communities and share how we are looking outside the proverbial box to take steps to address their needs and to continue to make Long Island the great place it is to live, to work, and to play. At this time, I'm happy to ask Lisa Daglian to come up and say a few words.
Thank you, Phil. I'm Lisa Dagley, and the Executive Director of the Permanent Citizens Advisory Committee to the MTA. I'm here on behalf of Jerry Bringman, who is the chair of the Long Island Railroad Commuter Council. It's not every day that you can take part in something that will actually transform North American railroading, and it's a very exciting day. It's also going to be transformative for commuters and riders, particularly on the Oyster Bay branch and on Port Jaff, who will soon hopefully be able to have a one-seat ride into the city, and soon will be able to have the service that they've long desired. The clean technology is also really exciting and transformative, and particularly during Earth Week. It's something that we're looking forward to. So this is not just a great step forward for the Earth and for riders, but it's something that will really hopefully pave the way for the way that railroads across America are able to operate. But it starts right here on Long Island with the Long Island Railroad, something that riders and commuters should really be proud of. And we're looking forward to a very successful deployment. So thank you for this. And I am very pleased to introduce Mitch Palley, the former MTA board member and the chair of the Long Island chapter of the New York League of Conservation Voters.
Thank you, sir, and thank you all for, this is a great day. I'm here, obviously, in my capacity as the chair of the Long Island chapter of the New York State League of Conservation Voters, and from an environmental perspective, this is a great opportunity for the Long Island Railroad and the MTA to reduce its diesel output and to give cleaner air to all of the communities in which diesel now runs. So it's a great hopefully will be a great achievement. Hopefully it will significantly expand the opportunities for electrified service. And as a commuter, as someone who lives in Stony Brook, but always took the train out of Ronkonkoma because I got a one-seat ride on an electric car, this will open up great commuting opportunities and other places along the Port Jefferson line, along this Oyster Bay line, out to Riverhead, hopefully, in that context with all the development going on in downtown Riverhead. And this will give Long Island and the Long Island Railroad a great opportunity to combine its transportation system in the most efficient way possible. As a former MTA board member, I cannot be more proud of the Long Island Railroad's opportunity here today. It is something we've all been working on for many, many years, and we are very, very pleased that we're not just one step closer to its achievement, but 100 steps closer to its achievement. Thank you very much, and thank you, Phil.
So thank you, Mitch. And this battery train is another example of our approach to tackle long-standing issues, working with industry to overcome challenges, embracing and driving change, using technology and innovation to move Long Island Railroad forward. I'm so excited, and I just can't hide it. So don't ask me to sing that lyric, but I'll take questions now.
You used the word transformational a number of times. Can you explain exactly why this is transformational, how it's going to change the commute for people?
It's transformational in a number of ways. First, from our thought process. We're embracing new technology. We're embracing the opportunity for batteries to change how we address the asks of these branches along these diesel territories. The estimates to electrify these branches exceed $17 billion, which is something that expands over multiple capital programs and probably decades and decades of construction activity. This thought process gives an opportunity to look at how we can strategically improve service on one branch, but also improve on others. So for instance, if this feasibility analysis comes out, we build a prototype and we can service Oyster Bay branches with a limited number of M7 cars, we can now then redeploy the dual modes, the non-powered coaches, improve service on the other branches, but it also changes the capital needs in future programs, right? For instance, the billions of dollars at one point you're trying to figure out how you fit into the program, it allows us to rethink how we address those needs and continuing to focus on state of grid repair and providing reliable service, but at the same time building out towards the future.
With Governor Cuomo shutting down Indian Point, it looks like we're going to have a significant energy dip. What happens if you run out of juice? You can't recharge the batteries.
Well, technology today has shown that these batteries are continually improving. They are smaller, as I mentioned, lighter, as I mentioned, and they are longer lasting. There's a lot of opportunity to look at how these batteries recharge. Right now, obviously, third rail power we have, but put it this way, electrifying complete branches is a much bigger power need than what we're looking at right now.
Oh, thank you. My 6-year-old actually came up with my questions today. He loves trains. How many batteries per train, and would a battery train have more or less power than an electric or a diesel train? Would the power change at all, getting somewhere for somebody?
Questions from our youth are always the tough ones. That's actually going to be what we investigate as part of this first phase. The first 8 months we'll be looking at how many batteries are needed to support our operational needs today. Will they fit in the train car? The idea at this point is to find out how many, how big, and where they will fit underneath the train car. So that's to be seen, but we're optimistic again that technology has improved to the point where these will be able to power on battery and then switch to electric and vice versa.
And no change in how fast they go or how much power they have on the train? It doesn't change the speed or anything like that? It doesn't
Right
make it
now, the
slower?
initial phase is to meet our operational needs.
Yeah.
If the study shows that it's a few miles an hour difference, those are the kinds of things that we will weigh toward, in the whole picture to see what decisions we make moving forward. There are going to be some trade-offs, but we're open-minded about that, and that's the whole idea behind this first phase. Thank you.
Hi, Phil. So, as I understand it from Alstom, the batteries that they currently run, the battery trains that they currently run in Europe can go about 60 miles before needing to be recharged, which would seem to be fine for Oyster Bay and Port Jeff, but would be maybe pushing it for Montauk and Ronkonkoma. Could you foresee a situation where the batteries would only be used for these shorter runs, and maybe you continue running diesel out to Montauk and to Greenport?
So it's a good question. One of the reasons we chose Oyster Bay as one of our first ones, it's the 13-mile trip. But part of the analysis will tell us if we need additional charging stations for longer distances, how fast can a battery recharge in that 60-second stop? And if we decide to go further and it's successful and we go further out east, again, how many charging stations would be required? How fast can it recharge? But initially, the feasibility of the battery, the ability to retrofit an M7, and then if we have the ability to improve service on Oyster Bay, that improves service on Port Jefferson, Montauk, and Ronkonkoma, respectively. Everybody benefits, including ourselves.
Will there be a carbon footprint study done of the cost of creating the electricity for these batteries versus the current diesel use?
All the folks will be reviewing the operational capacity of the batteries, but also the benefits to the environment. That's always something that the MTA and Long Island Railroad are looking at in terms of all our work that we're looking to proceed with. It's important for us as we look to not only improve service, but how can we do it more environmentally friendly.
What happens if the train dies midstream in non-electrified territory? What's the plan?
Well, the plan is to design it so it's not in that territory, and doing that's why the analysis will see what size batteries and how far they can travel. I would imagine that in any scenario, the cars will have meters and allow us to see the amount of strength remaining in the battery. So that's something that we will fully test through to avoid that type of situation.
Phil, I know. Don't want to make that go off. We've talked a lot about the environmental, but for someone sitting at home that does rely on commuting. Can you talk a little bit more about what they would see if this comes to be? I know you talked about transfers before, how there would be less of those. Can you just kind of talk about how this would impact someone sitting maybe on a train right now commuting somewhere?
Well, this is the first step. We obviously have a lot of steps ahead of us, but ultimately this will drive our decisions in the future. If once proven feasible, then future procurements could possibly require battery be part of that procurement. That world will then enable us to have a more homogeneous fleet that'll allow us to have more efficient with our maintenance of the fleet, but it'll also allow, as you say, you get on at Oyster Bay or you get on at Smithtown where I live, you can, perhaps have more single-seat rides, because eventually then we would be phasing out diesel, non-powered revenue trains. But that is further down the road. Obviously, right now, it's to improve the reliability of service. It's to improve the frequency of service. And in these cases where the opportunity is to add more single-seat rides, as you say, and that's both into New York and out of New York. Those opportunities are endless if after this test is done.
And this is, so 8 months of this study. I know you had said before billions and billions of dollars and a lot of construction if you went the other route. When could we potentially see batteries on these trains?
Well, if the study's successful, we would look to move right into the next phase of retrofitting the married pair. Maybe not this one behind us, but definitely a married pair. That would be next year.
Wow.
Thank you, everyone.